Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining me for another episode of my book, What It's Like to Chill Out with Ratko MLadic, Radovan Karadzic, and Goran Hadjic, Confessions of a Female War Crimes Investigator, written by myself, Miss Jill Louise Starr. So let's get right to where I left off yesterday, my first night in Belgrade, Serbia. Um, the next Waking up at Bojana's the next morning, we all enjoyed an equally exquisite breakfast. Bojana's family had livestock. Whoops, back up one paragraph, sorry. My night at Bojana's residence was wonderful. I was never showed so much love and hospitality as I did from her family. Although it was late in the evening, about 11 p.m. Serbian time, when we arrived, Bojana's mother, a wonderful Serbian lady, treated me as her own daughter. She insisted that Darko, Bojana, and I enjoy what seemed a 10-course home-cooked meal. She was still cooking while she served us a variety of cooked steaks, vegetables, and pastries. And like many Italian families, she insisted I tried and ate everything on my plate. I was full, but she insisted. To top the night off, before bed, Boyana and her father performed an accordion duet live in the kitchen for me. She's a great accordion player, I think I mentioned yesterday. Apparently, Boyana and her father were professional accordion players, and Boyana explained that her father's employment consisted of playing nightly in a local bar. Thereafter, we went to bed with all full stomachs. The next morning, we all enjoyed an equally exquisite breakfast. Boyana's family had livestock in the backyard, and her mother cooked us fresh eggs and steak for breakfast, like I never before experienced. We said our parting goodbyes, and we left for Darko's apartment in the hills of Beograd. We brought my suitcases in, and upon entering Darko's apartment, I noticed that there are a lot of stray dogs around his apartment entrance, and a lot of very old guys just sitting, hanging out, and smoking cigarettes and drinking whatever. One dog in particular was extremely cute, and Darko explained that the various residents fed it because it was so adorable, and they were all strays. I found it interesting that so many old men were just hanging around the entrance to Darko's apartment building, drinking and just sitting there smoking with seemingly nothing to do. They remained there throughout my entire trip. A couple of times I thought maybe they were watchmen or something. You never know. Anyway, even when Ratko Mladic came to see me on my final day at Darko's apartment in his backyard in Serbia, when he walked towards the building in his full military regalia, giving me my parting gifts, the two books he inscribed to me entitled Serbia, the one that I took a picture of and posted online, while Darko took pictures of me and Ratko Mladic with his arm around me, all the old men just remained there, looking like old bums with nothing to do, staring at us. Retrospectively now, I wonder if they weren't some type of watchmen and/or guards. And to this day, I always wondered what Darko did with those photos that he took, and he did take them. I was very surprised what a very large and nice apartment Darko owned. Apparently, I asked him if I could rent a place several times. He explained to me that usually people buy apartments. They don't really let them out flats out in Belgrade, and I think he paid 30,000 for his, which is quite a bit of money in Serbia. Darko showed me to his guest bedroom, and I unpacked my suitcases in just enough time for Darko to inform me that I was to consolidate all my truly necessary items and get ready to prepare to leave for Montenegro, and put all the items I needed for 3 weeks into one small bag that would reasonably fit into his trunk in the morning, because he needed enough room for his and also Bojana's luggage as well as mine. And like I said, I have an attention deficit disorder, so I have an extremely hard time in packing. I can never make up my mind, and so I brought everything, which was quite a bit, and it was overweight too in the airline. So Darko came in, and he's like, you can only take one. We can each take one suitcase, so get it together. And I had a hard time trying to do that as well in Belgrade. He laughed. Darko and Bojana were laughing at all the things I brought with me to Belgrade, telling me that I had no idea at all. I didn't know how to pack whatsoever. By the time I was done with the task Darko told me of getting ready, putting all the things I needed for 3 weeks in one suitcase, it was time for us to go meet some of Darko's friends in a local cafe for coffee, he said, and that's where I met Radovan Karadzic for the first time that night. the second night in Belgrade. It was a late summer, it was like August 17th or something, and the outside cafes in Belgrade were the best. We met up with a few friends of Darko's in some restaurant and with a cafe outside. Maybe it was the Madhouse, that famous one. I don't really know. It looked similar. We sat outside. They had some tables outside, and we were sitting outside with a few of Darko's friends. There were about 5 of us sitting there. We were just chatting and drinking coffee when I noticed an older gentleman was sitting a few seats down in the corner on the right with feathered back, wrinkled suit like you see Radovan wear, and he had salt and pepper hair, not saying much except for an occasional laugh and nod at us. I wondered wherefore Darko, a man about 30, would associate with such an older person. As for me being several years older than Darko, I thought to myself, hey, this guy's kind of cute. And then upon closer inspection, I realized it was Dr. Radovan Karadzic. I knew he was a psychiatrist. By no means was this to be our last meeting. I met Radovan Karadzic several times with Darko, probably on diplomatic duties around Belgrade, dropping things off. Or Radovan would come to the car and they'd exchange something, or he'd come up to the car and they'd exchange some words. I didn't really say much. Darko introduced me to Radovan as his friend the second night outside the cafe. I shook his hand. And he was very nice. He said now I knew that he knows how to speak English when I was reading the court stuff, but at the time Radovan said Darko translated and said that he didn't know how to speak much English, and he translated back and forth, and he smiled and was very nice. And he looked just like he did in all his pictures. And the first thing that came to my mind when I met Radovan Karadzic was, God, somebody get this man an iron and please and a brush for his hair. He was really wrinkled and he looked just like all his pictures, and I wanted to buy him a brush and an iron, and that's my first recollection of what I first thought of him when I met him. And that's about it, really. So I'll stop here and I'll continue later. I hope you enjoyed it. Ciao.